All right, let us see what we have here. Card 45, Understand Your Style. Hi, this is John Paulus, and you're listening to Life's Potluck Buffet. Today's card number 45, is Understand Your Style. Let me read you the card. Start to explore why you do everything you do, what shows you watch, what you read on a daily basis, even what toothpaste you use and why. Understanding the process by which we arrive at choices clarifies future choices. Say a choice you make. Say a choice you make, even if it is as simple as what toothpaste you use, and explain why you make that choice and what it means to you. Okay, I'm going to give you a few seconds to think about the toothpaste, or another simple choice if you don't want to talk about toothpaste. But I'm going to talk about toothpaste, so get ready. Okay, what's the choice, the simple choice that you made? Did you come up with something? If not, try one more time. Okay, think of a simple choice you make, and we'll start from there. I am going to talk about a toothpaste choice. It is not a recent toothpaste choice. What popped to mind was a toothpaste that is no longer manufactured. And it was a toothpaste that was made with something called Arctic Fern. We were given a sample at a kind of fancy apothecary in 1887. No, not in 1887. Let's say, in a fancy drugstore in Chicago. We were given a sample of the very small travel size sample. I feel like we used it on a trip. I think this was great. This is probably the best toothpaste I've ever used. I don't know what Arctic Fern is supposed to taste like, but whatever this toothpaste may have had also mint in it as well. But anyway, I don't even know if it had mint in it. Maybe it was just Arctic Fern. Anyhow, it was an amazing toothpaste. I can't say enough about this toothpaste. And I learned later on that it was devised or created by this kind of wild guy in maybe Italy or somewhere. I think it was Italy. I think it was northern Italy, if I recall. And that he just stopped making it. The people at the drugstore never explained why the guy stopped making it. If the guy is listening, then please let me know in the comments, because sir, you made the greatest toothpaste that's ever been made. And this toothpaste was expensive. I mean, as I recall, and this was maybe 15 years ago, it was something like $23 for a tube of it. So maybe the price point had something to do with the fact that there wasn't that that they had to stop making the toothpaste, because obviously it was ridiculously expensive. And how do I feel about that? Well, that's this is about understanding your style. One thing that is a hallmark of my style, as I see it, is I really think about quality and craftsmanship. As you'll probably understand from listening to previous episodes, I'm really into craftsmanship and the idea of craft. And so whatever it is that I'm purchasing, I want and so whatever it is I'm purchasing, I want it to be reflective of the highest quality craft in a particular area. That tends to be a hallmark of my style. It certainly doesn't always mean it's the most expensive item on the shelf, but it might be the least expensive. But the point is that I have to have a trust in the craftsmanship and in the quality of it for me to want to really go all in and regularly buy something. And then I tend to be very loyal in that regard. This $23 toothpaste, over time I bought more than one tube of it. So it wasn't a one-off. And it was just a matter of a fact that they stopped producing it. And that's what ended my glory days of Arctic Fern toothpaste. Now I'm a little bit nostalgic. I mean, if you know what Arctic fern is, please mention in the comments, because I'm not even sure I know what that means. I mean, God forbid that it's like some endangered species of plant that this guy was making toothpaste out of. In which case, I'm glad it stopped. But it didn't. It didn't seem to be an illegal toothpaste. I don't think it would have made it onto the market. So when you think about the process by which you make choices, and this was in my talking about the toothpaste situation, the first choice I made was to regularly go into the fancy drugstore that's going to have unusual items that are perhaps very special and very specialty items, which I care about. And so that was step one. And then the people who worked at the drugstore were empowered to give samples of items that they were promoting and trying to get you to buy. It makes, fine. That's how sales works. And I loved the story behind it. And most importantly, the quality of the toothpaste I felt to be excellent. It had a very gentle foam about it. I'm personally not a big fan of like extra foamy toothpastes. And it's probably good because there's probably junk in there that causes that extra foam that you probably don't even want in your toothpaste, or we don't want to produce too much of. So, I feel good about that part. The flavor was, as I said, the best tasting toothpaste. So really that pleasure of the flavor of it was a very key element. The price point I was willing to live with for a certain amount of time. I was willing to live with it. I would have lived with it longer if they still continued to produce it. So this was not a price point thing. This was a quality thing and a personal preference in terms of the taste. So that's a good way for me to understand my style, because I can apply it to pretty much everything else, whether it's clothing or what books I read, what music I listen to. There's always the element of a kind of craftsmanship, a good story that's connected with it, and a pleasure in terms of whether if it's clothing, the aesthetic, that if it's something in terms of food and or in the case toothpaste, then it's the taste, that sensory perception. So there's something with sensory perception that's important to me as well in regard to all of these, and music in terms of what it sounds like. So that's the combination of elements, the craftsmanship plus the pleasure it provides. That's going to be a way that I can explain pretty much any style choice that I make, and any choice that I make otherwise. I mean, there are things beyond the toothpaste, well beyond the toothpaste, in terms of work choices that I make. So even work choices that I'm thinking of that I make, or business choices, always have this element of craftsmanship, something special about it, a good story, and pleasure. But this time, instead of pleasure of aesthetics, it's pleasure of enjoying working with the people involved, enjoying doing business with the people involved. And the reason that I enjoy doing business with the people involved is because I trust them. And that causes that pleasure, that same pleasure in a business sense. It's a relationship that involves trust. It's a relationship that involves care for the craft, and care for each other. And that's something that we don't think about enough in terms of the choices that we make. If you liked this episode, then please choose to subscribe. And if you liked card number 45, then head over to lifespotluck.com and buy a pack today. Have a great day, and we'll see you next time.